The rising obesity rate in the United States has become one of the most significant public health problems of the modern era. Obesity has developed from an individual concern to a nationwide epidemic over the past decades. This broad shift in health comes not from individual choices, but from a shift in food systems and perspectives.
Because of an unhealthy food culture, a lack of exercise, and an overconsumption of fast food, the obesity rate in the United States has risen significantly. Due to an unhealthy food culture, America has placed itself in a bad spot.
One aspect of this is the much larger portion sizes in America when compared to other countries. The differences in portion size specifically between America and the UK are shocking. McDonald's large drinks are 89% larger in the US. For example, this is a large in Europe, 500 milliliters.
And this, comparatively, is a large in the United States, which is 946 milliliters.
Mediums, while not as big of an increase as small and large sizes, are 55% bigger in the US. This actually makes the US medium larger than the UK large, which just goes to show how big of a difference this really is. The portion discrepancy is not just limited to McDonald's either. US KFC fries are twice the size of the fries in the UK, and the largest Starbucks sizes are 1.5 times bigger.
Larger portions are obviously a huge factor when it comes to obesity. Eating more calories causes weight gain. After looking at this comparison, it's no coincidence that America is the most obese country in the world. Another aspect of the trouble with American food culture is how 3 in 5 Americans consume more added sugar than is recommended by health specialists. Many foods have a lot of added sugars, which are extra types of sugar added to make food taste better than it would naturally. It's a widespread issue throughout American foods that contributes to our general obesity.
The best way to know if there are added sugars, and if so, how many, is to look at the food label. The section that includes added sugars is under the total sugars section, and sometimes there will be a footnote at the bottom that says how much of the average person's daily sugar intake is provided by a serving of the product, indicated here with 20%. A higher number of added sugars means that the product is more unhealthy, although make sure to look at the serving size to get a proper understanding of how much the percentages provided in the footnotes really are.
Another factor that contributes to both of these issues is how food is marketed. Marketing can lead to consumers buying unhealthy products. Companies that often target specific people who are more likely to buy their products, while also not disclosing exactly how bad for people's health their products are.
Something that's arguably even worse is how abundant all this marketing is. Online browsing contains dozens of ads on its website, it's rare for a commercial break to be completely devoid of food advertising, and ads are on billboards and large screens in many public places. This ever-pervasive advertising drives people to buy even more unhealthy foods with more added sugars, increasing the obesity problem dramatically.
The lack of exercise resulting from a sedentary lifestyle, poor urban and suburban design, and failure to meet physical activity benchmarks contribute to the obesity crisis. Sedentariness has increased majorly in the US, which can contribute to obesity. According to data based on the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, 25.3% of Americans are classified as physically inactive. The lowest amount of inactivity was in the state of Colorado at 17.7%. Colorado also boasts the lowest obesity rate at 25.0%. Additionally, the region with the highest level of inactivity, Puerto Rico, at 49.4%, also has a large obesity rate of 36.2%.
This data shows a major correlation between sedentariness and the rate of obesity. If a region has a low rate of sedentariness, it is also likely for it to have a low rate of obesity. This means the sedentariness of Americans could be one of the causes of obesity.
The infrastructure of the U.S. also has an impact on obesity through affected rates of exercise. In the U.S., infrastructure is primarily focused on automotive transportation rather than transportation via biking or walking. The lack of infrastructure designed for physical activity in the U.S. negatively impacts the obesity rate. In order to reduce the obesity rate, the U.S. must reduce its reliance on cars for transportation. Introducing better infrastructure to the U.S., such as walkable streets, bike lanes, accessible public transit, and connected mixed-use neighborhoods can encourage daily physical activity and reduce obesity. According to Boston University, adults living in walkable neighborhoods are about 1.5 times more likely to meet physical activity levels compared with residents of low walkability areas. By building better infrastructure, the U.S. can reduce its tremendous obesity rate. Additionally, Many Americans fall short of meeting nationally recommended physical activity benchmarks, and this shortfall contributes to the high obesity rate in the US. Federal guidelines recommend that adults get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise per week, along with muscle strengthening activities. However, according to the CDC, only about 22% of US adults meet these guidelines. Furthermore, a substantial portion of US adults have little to no leisure time physical activity, and overall inactivity remains common. Ultimately, the insufficient physical activity of Americans results in fewer calories being burned and a greater obesity rate.
Because of its affordability and convenience, fast food has been greatly overconsumed in America, contributing to the obesity epidemic. For example, even with rising prices, a McDonald's Quarter Pounder costs around $5.50 to $7, depending on the location. Not to mention that almost every fast food business, including McDonald's, has apps that give even further discounts. Making a similar burger independently would only cost about $3 to $4 depending on the quality of ingredients, yet it would take up to half an hour to make, and way more when actually including buying the ingredients. If we're being honest, most people will not take the time out of their day, or just plainly don't have the time in their day to make a home-cooked meal for themselves. In addition to this, if one were to make their own version of these fast food meals, it would also require lots of cookware and cooking experience. For example, making fried chicken such as KFC's, multiple plates and bowls for dry and wet ingredients along with a pot to fry in would be needed. This will also contribute to the time aspect because one would have to clean all the dishes.
As a result of this, 37% of Americans consume fast food daily, according to an article by Zippia.
Further contributing to the overly accessible nature of fast food is the sheer number of fast food restaurants located throughout America. Currently, there are roughly 200,000 fast food restaurants in America, the most of any country in the world. As a result, America leads the world in fast food consumption, according to a study by the World Population Review.
Overall, we as Americans should be more conscious about the food we eat by reducing our consumption of fast food.
Ultimately, obesity is a huge problem in America. Over the years, it has gone from a minor problem to a large, country-spanning issue which affects a large portion of the population. An unhealthy food culture, a lack of exercise, and an overconsumption of fast food are the main drivers of the increase. These factors are very difficult to overcome, but not impossible. America can change its attitude if given the reasons to change.
Added sugars can be reduced in dozens of types of foods, making them healthier. Better infrastructure can, even if in minor ways, encourage people to get moving and increase physical activity. And finally, individual people can be more conscious of what they eat to ensure their diet is up to health standards. Overall, the problems with obesity in America are not insurmountable challenges. America is not doomed to continue its downward spiral of unhealthiness, and solutions such as these could slowly but surely reverse the trend.